a God that is able to hear amithandazelo, a God that is able to even understand our deepest cries. I also want to take this opportunity and acknowledge the extension of that living God, which is the officers that God has deployed to this conference and to all of the TASA branches. Also acknowledge the chairperson of ATM, who's also an advisory board member, advising the church, advising the chief apostle on all matters relating to TASA, Osis Mandisa. Dinibulise nani nonke TASA members. There is one thing that the chief apostle said when he talked about TASA. He said TASA must create a platform for the interaction of the Holy Spirit and the human soul. Now, when there is that interaction, whereby you as a person, as a soul, you get to interact with the Holy Spirit, I don't think there is a greater level of spirituality than interacting with the gift of God called the Holy Spirit. Because a lot of times, worshiping God has been made something like a formality, a procedure. I need to go to church. Or it's our this is the type of service they call it. But a lot of people do not interact with God. And the biggest issue is that if you do not interact with God, there's a chance you don't know God. That is why when there's that interaction, it's actually an assurance uyazana noThixo. Now, once wazana noThixo, you are able to relax spiritually, because you've got that understanding of knowing God. You can recall there was a time whereby Jesus asked his disciples, and they said a lot of things. However, when Jesus was asking the disciples, who do you say I am? The response from Peter was, you are Christ, the Son of the living God. The response from Jesus was, what you have just said now did not come from your understanding or did not come from your intellect, but it came through the revelation of God. Now understand this, if you are able to reach a point in your life whereby you are able to see God residing in a human being, I think we have reached the highest level of spirituality. Because we worship because one day we hope to go to heaven, and it heaven whereby we are going to be with God. However, the Bible is very clear about you can be able to see God, experience God, interact with God. One of the greatest things or greatest falsehood that has been planted by missionaries is that we need to die before Sazan and we need to die before we can interact with God. So when the chief apostle said, TASA must provide that platform so that you are able to interact with the Holy Spirit, then it means the chief apostle was saying the role of TASA, it is not to be Itawe just like Itawe exists on this earth. The role of TASA is to provide a platform so that people can experience or can have a godly experience. A godly experience, you can have that understanding, or you can have that experience of, I've seen God in my life, I've seen God work with me. Not an experience whereby you limit or you can confine uThixo to the scriptures. A lot of people want to confine God to the scriptures. Everything abayithethayo, it's always based on uThixo wayithe ngexesha elithile kuzibani, but they do not have any experience. And once you don't have the experience as an individual, ukholo lwakho, there's something missing, because you don't know for a fact that you are relying on the experience of others. And one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, if there was an interaction between God and Moses, between God and Joseph, between God and Jesus, God with a lot of people, what is making you not to interact with the very same God if other people were able to interact with God? So that is why when the chief apostle said, we need to create that platform. Because once that platform is there, then sizokwazi to be spiritual beings. instead of being religious beings. A lot of people confused spirituality and religion. Religion is a set of rules that govern how you ought to relate with God. That is why it is focused over it's all about the rules that govern you as to how you need to interact or you need to relate with God. But when it comes to spirituality, you cannot confine it. That is why you can be a student, be given of going to study overseas.
Scholarship.
You go and study in a country, but you are able to interact with God, because with spirituality you are able to interact with the Spirit of God. So if we are able to create that platform, then it means we are elevating our worship to being a spiritual driven worship instead of being a rules-based worship. If I can put it maybe in a language that you might understand as young people, how we relationship you find this person is more about the rules. Do not cheat on me, do not go on dates without me, all of those things, those are rules. But once your relationship is defined by uthando, then you do not need to feel confined to ubanjwe imithetho that this person is setting upon you. You find that in many instances, in relationships they are rules based, and we don't get to fully experience the love from our partners because yonke into that is leading imithetho. But once we are led by the love between me and no. So it is the same with that platform. And once the platform is there, there's going to be miracles as in our lives as members of TASA, as individuals, as well as the organization, brand. And I want to make examples about our own personal experiences, because it is not because we studied in the Constitution and all of these things. We've got living testimonies of how God has shown within our brothers and sisters. I remember in, I think it was 2008, we were in a branch at NMMU, and we had some of our members were coming from Mpumalanga, all the way from, I think, Nkomazi. So you can imagine, closer to the Swaziland border. So they did not go home during the March holidays, simply because it was a distance and to drive from PE to Nkomazi. Tina bantu were coming from Mthatha and Woktuwa. We always used to go home during the March and September holidays. So this September, sihleli ke nabantu kwethu, and I'm leaving on a Friday. It was on a Monday. I'm telling them I'm leaving on a Friday. I'm going home April. Kwakhona uSubdeacon at the time, uPhumzile Sifunda, who is now a mother overseer court. As edlula, undivile ndincokola, adlule nje athi bawuzuhamba. Ndingayithathi ingaregistarishi lamntu and then I continued with abantu to engage. At that time, ndandicele imali from 3 sources, almost. There was Utata, who was supposed to give me money. There was Mama, who was supposed to give me money. And there was also my cousin, who was supposed to give me money. For by 3, 500 each. Because it was good. So, what then happened was, and they were supposed to give me on a Tuesday. Wafika Tuesday, imana ingeni. Wafika Wednesday, all of them bane stored. Wafika Thursday, bonke bane stored. Wafika Friday, bane stored. Round about in the evening on Friday, I then remembered there were words that were said to me, Bantu Zohang. I quickly left i-res yam, ndaya kweyakhe i-res, ndamnegotiator. Cela undikhulule mani. I had to explain ukuba kutheni ndigoduka. And after having explained, athi uphumzile, all right, uba ungahamba. So the time I'm leaving i-res yakhe going kweyam, zandifike kwawufika kweyam i-res. Kwafona utata, kwafona umama, kwafona nekhazini. Bonke babuza ukuba bayifake phi imali. Now, this shows ukuba elalizwi lalisithanda uzuhamba lalidala. And you can recall ukuba zange sihlale siqhekeza isonka sibophe sithi awuzuhamba sibani. But it was the ilizwi that came and labanjalo. Meaning when we have that interaction with the Holy Spirit, we get to ukuba sikwazi ukubopha okanye sikwazi ukudala without ukuba sijule sibe serious. Because one of the things esibethayo as abantu abakholwayo, we are living double lives. In the sense that xa kunezinto ezisihluphayo emphefumlweni sizonxiba amaqhina brown sifune ukuba kwimode ethile yokuthandaza. Because we believe ukuba once sibe sesangqini nabazalwane, only then izinto zizokwenzeka. And then siphinde siphume from that role, siphinde ngosibe sithi, whereas we ought to be abantu that are always spiritual. And the importance of always us being spiritual is because you are students. Sometimes you are going to meet your fellow brother or sister, ayobhala test. Can you imagine the power of ilizwi lakho elizothi dadewethu upase? Uzothi xa ifika kula exam, over and above the preparation abenayo because ufundile, but the word that creates a livela kuwe. So that is why it becomes important ukuba whatever that we do in our respective campuses, let us make sure ukuba it is always spirit-driven. Because when it's spirit-driven, we can never be misled. But if it's driven by ingcinga zethu and even our knowledge, we are going to mislead one another. But one thing that we know for a fact, that the Holy Spirit can never mislead anyone. If there's one thing that we all need to know to go back, the Holy Spirit is lapha ngaphakathi kwakho as an individual. One mistake that we make sometimes is that we want to rely on inkokeli ngokwenyama. In the sense that you are going to say, I'm going to go to this particular officer because I want to have a resolution to this particular problem. Now, you meet this officer like once or twice in a week, and you are lying to yourself, Kauzoti, you are able to interact with the gift inside him, whereas you are failing to interact with the gift inside you. Because this gift that is inside you, 24/7, ihlala nawe. There is no time whereby this gift has been switched off. That is why it becomes important to go back. There must always be that interaction. Now, the other thing that defines UTASA is that TASA is a home away from home. I don't think we can stress this enough. Ukuba likhaya UTASA away from amakhaya ethu. What that practically means, ukuba we must create an environment as members of TASA of love, because what defines a home, luthando. Now, once we love one another, sizokwazi ukwenza ukuba abantu bonke babone ukuba this institution, this organization is an organization of God. One thing that defines UTASA is that ubufika namhlanje, you are not judged, or you are not discriminated against abantu who've got 10 years UTASA. Because in a home, ayenzeki lonto. Now, the most important thing that we all need to have as members of TASA, it is loving one another. Because when we love one another, there is no student, there is no TASA member that can go to bed hang, ibe ikhona imember. There is no way kungakhona imember ingazibana textbook, kodwa ikhona imember that could help. Now, uthando gets to practically show us ukuba siya, because remember most kuthiwa UTASA is an association. Association means you choose to be part of something. You choose to associate no TASA. Now, when you choose to associate with TASA over and above other religious organizations on campus, it is because there's something that has drawn you to this particular organization. Now, many churches, many religious institutions, they want to focus ukhonza on what the preaching is saying, but not on what the environment is. What TASA creates, when we're saying TASA is a home away from home, it says the preaching must be at 100%, meaning it must be spirit-driven. But also the environment must be what? Must be 100%. When the environment is 100%, awuzuba nabantu who are feeling obliged xa bekuthaza. Awuzuba nabantu abafeelisha uba ingathi banyanzelwe to be part of intoni uthaza. Rather, uzuba nabantu because of love, they are going to go the extra mile because bayalubona uthando within this organization. There was a time, you'll make Nizonkolela, I've been Kutasa since 2006. I'm sure back home now, I'm 2006. How about that? So, from time to time, I'll speak about the experiences as enough. In 1 year in PE, we're singing close to the dining hall because sasihlangana kwi-dining hall. So, kwakukhona i-main building, or kukhona i-main building la campus. So, i-dining hall is close to the female residence, kuthiwa yi-Melody. So, as sithula phana, kube khona this lady, uyaphuma, and attractwe naturally ngumculo. Abuze uba ningobani, nivelaphi, can I join you guys? And the females kutasa zimwelcome, azambuza nombuzo ukuba ithini into yakhe, bavese bamthanda nje, bamhaga. And then after, the next day, because it was a Saturday, the next day it was a Sunday, baya in the morning kuye bamcaba there's a church service sendaweni ethile, and she was saying but ananto yonxiba because I've never owned a skirt, but no, it's fine. Sizokunikeza iskirt. Now this person waphela a active member kaTASA. Now in November, in one of the services, it was I think one of the closing services, wabakhona service kwagqi. Yazi mos how it happens kuTASA. Sisike singafuni ugoduka after a service. So kuphakame one person, and this person had an accident esemncane. So he had an artificial eye. Aqale yena athi uyayibulela into kaTASA because he's never been given funny looks because the artificial eye. And almost sonke sathi we've got an artificial eye. Because thina zasibona nobona loo nto. And into wayithanda yena is the fact that he was able to be welcomed, he was able to be appreciated without ukuba afilishe conscious about the artificial eye ayazi unayo. And then after yaqala ke omnye waconfess. This lady I was telling you about, when she stood up, waqala wali. She cries and says, the time I met you guys, I was on my way to the main building. And I was going to the last floor because I was going to take my life. I wanted to take my life because with family, I was ill-treated as a child. Even Jemandilapa esikolweni, I'm not given support. Jemandilapa, I'm feeling alone. But the fact that I got love from Nina, love that I never even experienced from Ekaya, I felt more at home nani than being at home Nantikotuki. Now, what that taught me is that we've got people who are members of TASA who are coming from different backgrounds with different challenges. Abanye do not have parents. Abanye have got absent parents. Abanye have got multitudes of problems. Abazanas. So when they come to UTASA, they are coming to a home whereby bazokwazi ukufilisha ukuba indeed I've got brothers and I've got sisters. So the home away from home element in TASA, it is very important ukuba let us treat abantu ngendlela that we would want to be treated. Let us provide a loving home to an extent whereby even if they are not a member of TACC, they must say, because of the love I'm feeling up, I'm even willing to join the church. Remember, I spoke about Umamu Pumzile Sifunda, ne? She did not come from TACC. And Waikala Masenkomas go up. And go up in another church. But because of the spirituality and the home element in TASA, can you believe ukuba waqoka phoa wathi uyobhala isapho kanti uya eMthatha because ufuna attenda i-sealing service? That was before uTASA had i-sealing services. So all of this, I'm trying to show you ukuba let us be spiritual and at the same time let us create a loving environment. Because with the loving environment, you will have a boundary that you can rely on. Because as young elders, you get to experience from your studies, from your growing up, from adulting, zininzi. But when you know ukuba you've got people that you can rely on, you can bank on, trust me, you can never go wrong. Now, we also said, uTASA, there must be a holistic development, in the sense that we must not only come and be developed spiritual, but when you come out of uTASA, you must come out being a fully developed individual. Now, in development, you need to be selfish about it, in the sense that who that needs to understand, I need to develop myself and I'm going to utilize uTASA to develop myself ngalento that I'm lacking on. In the sense that if ungumntu that is shy, but your academic qualification requires the best platform uTASA, so that ukwazi ufunda public speaking, ukwazi engage nabantu, ukwazi ufunda la confidence. Anduzubiza igama lalona ne. There was omnye umzalwane ne. He was coming from Idolope, Eastern Cape, close to KZN, anduzubiza igama lakhe. Wayifunda ukibanga because so in course required to he needs to do research, and after doing research, I presented in English to the entire class. And he was coming from a school up in English, he found so exposed. So what he says here is that he's going to use uTASA to learn how to speak English. So such a classifier one day when Bible studies, I think it was on Monday with the Bible study, and with Bible study, we Bible scripture we discuss. And Tina Rasteta is taught them. Yena afike athethe nge-English. And uzomane senze mistakes here and there. Within a month, he was fluent in English. Because he was able to utilize the safe space that TASA is to develop himself. Now, you need to develop yourself within uTASA. As executives, you need to devise programs that will provide holistic development in your members. Spiritual development is one of them, academic development, e-health, e-social, economic. When we speak about e-pillars, we used to speak about a holistic development. That is why it's important to go back. When you are part of TASA, don't confine yourself to saying it's our way. To an extent whereby there are other things that you could learn and that will equip you becoming a better person ungakwazi to utilize uTASA. If we are able to look at uTASA from the very first NEC, you've got Oba Umkwetwa that are going across the globe. You've got Oba Undlela that are excellent when it comes to running key accounting firms, and you've got presidents of political uTASA has produced members of parliament. Now, that is showing that this organization is an organization that we must always preserve for a future generation. If there's one thing that we all used to say, is that we want abantwana bethu to inherit a TASA. Meaning, i-conduct yethu, as we're leading, we said we want to make sure that UTASA grows so much that by the time our children are 18 years, bathi xa befika evarsity, TASA is there. Meaning we must be growth-driven for TASA. Growth-driven in the sense that it can't be that an institution will have 10,000 students, but UTASA only has 50 members. We're pitching below the. We need to make sure that we become a mass-based institution of
A mass-based organization.
mass-based
Christian association.
of choice in institutions of what? Of higher learning. So, and Londo can only happen if, number one, there's a spiritual element, and there's a loving environment, and there's development. Because in development comes when people have money there. You don't stay in the hour by money there. Now, UTASA must always provide a there. The last thing is that if there's one thing that UTASA taught us was the power of unity. Power of unity in the sense that when we're having elections, we did not stress besiqhekeza inhloko ukuba kukhona infections kwabantu bakabani. We always used to pray to the